Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 1 Kings, the 19th chapter. And as we saw in the 18th chapter, right, with Elijah coming back and eventually, causing it to rain again after slaying the prophets of Baal, we're now going to see the aftermath of this. So we ended off with Ahab going home, right, going to Jezreel, Elijah meeting him at the entrance over there. And so here we are in 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 1. And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and withal how he had slain all the prophets with the sword, the false prophets, that is. Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. And basically meaning, the gods are, let me actually pull this up in another translation, as I like the way they worded something like this in the NLT, right? It says, she sent a messenger to Elijah saying, may the gods strike me and even kill me, right? And more also, if by this time tomorrow I have not killed you just as you killed them. Okay. Verse 3. So she's basically threatening Elijah, but with her wicked ass, she's she's actually intending on actually doing this when she gets that chance. Remember, at this point, Ahab is the king, right, of the northern kingdom, and Jezebel is his wife. So she has power to a degree, and even more power through manipulating and controlling Ahab. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life, right? Going to show also the human element of the prophets, right? Because here it is, Elijah was able to revive the widow woman's dead child, right? He was able to cause it to not rain and then cause it to rain, and all these different things that he was able to do by the spirit and power of the Lord. And yet he still feared for his life when Jezebel sent out this threat, to the point where he fled, right? And came to Beersheba, which belongeth to Judah, and left his servant there. Now, why did he do that? Think about it. He had a servant, right? And in this case, he first got his servant to safety, and then he went elsewhere. Now, why did he come to Beersheba, which belongeth to Judah? Because at this point, remember, the kingdom of Israel is still split, right? So you have the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, and they weren't, let's say, buddy-buddy with each other, just yet, right? So knowing that, Elijah leaving his servant over there in the territory of Judah, either one, they wouldn't think to look there, or two, that would be like the boundary, right? Because what would it look like where troops or whoever from the northern kingdom coming up into the southern kingdom? That would, lead to some trouble there, as they were already at war one with another. So Elijah leaves a servant here in Beersheba, but he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers, right? And those that were slain before him, right, of his forefathers. So he had basically had enough, so he was tired, he was exhausted, he didn't want to keep on running here and going there and so on and so forth. And so he requested that the Lord take him back to the spirit world. Verse 5, And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him, and said unto him, Arise and eat. So an angel woke him up, and he looked, and behold, there was a cake baking on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head. And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. So at this point, the angel pretty much brought him food, Okay, so he eats it, then he goes back to sleep. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time, and touched him, and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. So wherever he was going to have to go next was going to be a long journey. And so this angel brought him food twice. And he arose and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights on to Horeb, the mount of God. And this is something that I think is important to emphasize or think about as well. In verse 8, Elijah eats, right? He's eating 2 meals, and those 2 meals held him for 40 days and 40 nights. That's what it means by the strength of that meat. So there's an example there, right, of the various ways the Lord can preserve an individual, right? He can literally give you food, something that can look so small. It can be even like a grape. It looks like a grape, or a date, and you eat it and you don't get hungry, you don't get thirsty for like a month, or 2 months. That's all possible. Here's a similar example here. So, these things are all well within the range of the possibility of what the Most High can do. So when the Lord says that you're going to be good, right, in the days of tribulation, that he's going to deliver his elect, he's going to protect and take care of his servants, there's no reason or need to doubt that. So I just wanted to mention that part real quick right there. And it's good because the more of these examples you have in your head, the stronger your faith is when you find yourself in hard situations, because you're like, yo, there's literally countless examples of the Lord, of how he can deliver you, and even more examples that you don't even know about. So verse 9, and he came thither into a cave. So here he goes to Mount Horeb, and let's actually look this up here. Mount Horeb, Bible map, see where they place this. All right, so I think we might be able to get, here we go. Mount Horeb, here they have it as Mount Sinai, down here. And this makes sense, right? If we even look at this makes sense why the angel said that the journey was great, because he had to go from, here's where, right around where they placed the wilderness, all the way down here to Mount Horeb. So Elijah was doing a lot. Anyway, verse 9, and he came thither onto a cave and lodged there. And behold, the word of the Lord Yahweh came to him. And he said unto him, What doest thou here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord Yahweh, God of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. Now, if we take a look at some of these other translations, typically I like to look at the NLT. It says here, Elijah replied, I have zealously served the Lord God Almighty, but the people of Israel have broken their covenant with you, right? Torn down your altars and killed every one of your prophets. I'm the only one left. And now they're trying to kill me. So going into this word, where is it? Jealous, right? There's a conventional understanding of it, which is, when you're jealous, for example, a man is jealous over his woman, he doesn't want anybody around her, like that kind of thing, right? And then there's also the jealousy of envy, right? So here we have Qana, and it says so these are a couple of definitions here. To envy, to be jealous, to be envious, to be zealous. So that's also one example, right? To be jealous of, to be envious of, to be zealous for, to excite to jealous anger, right? So this is one of the definitions which, it probably makes the most sense in this case. Let's see what we have here in the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. So looking at these examples, You can see one of the definitions here is to burn with zeal for any person or thing, right? Followed by to be zealous for anyone's cause. And the examples they show here is 1 Kings 19 and 10. So in 1 Kings 19 and 10, as we have here, the use case of the word jealous, right, would be this definition here, which is to be zealous for. So Elijah is not saying to the Lord, right, that he is jealous of the Lord, right, or he is jealous about the Lord, but he's rather saying that he is zealous, right? He has been very zealous for the Lord in serving the Lord. However, looking at Israel, they're pretty much the opposite of that. And he said, go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord Yahweh passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains and brake in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. So you can imagine maybe like a tornado or something like that, a hurricane, something, some strong wind that started shaking up everything, breaking the rocks on the mountain. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord Yahweh was not in the fire. So you can imagine, these signs over here, right? This strong wind, this massive earthquake, this raging fire, and none of them the Lord was in. But the Lord was not in the fire, and after the fire, a still small voice. And it was so when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood in the entering in of the cave. Because remember, he was in the cave this whole time, right? So he covered up his face. He went to the entrance of the cave to go in and see what's going on here. And behold, there came a voice unto him and said, what doest thou here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord Yahweh God of hosts. In other words, I have been very zealous for the Lord, because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And the Lord Yahweh said unto him, go, return on thy way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when thou comest, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. So if we go back here, we can see now he goes all the way up to the wilderness of Damascus. One path here is what's known as the King's Highway, which is what's outlined over here. And then you have the other path, which is the way of the sea, or Via Maris, I believe is what it's referred to. And that cuts through Israel at this point, and then goes back onto the main road. So for people going from Egypt up north, or people coming down, these would be the main pathways they would take, because over here was mainly deserts and mountains and so on and so forth. So the Lord tells him, go up there and anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. Now Hazael, let's see, okay, so this is the first mention of his name. That's fine, cool. Verse 16, and Jehu the son of Nimshi shalt thou anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abel Meholah shalt thou anoint to be prophet in thy room. Because remember, Elijah had asked for the Lord to take his life away, to take him back to the spirit world. So these would be the things here that the Lord told him, go ahead and take care of this. And that's why he mentioned anointing Elisha or Elisha to be the prophet in his room, in his stead. So when he's gone, somebody's going to carry on for him. So the Lord pretty much chose Elisha over here to play that role, and then told Elijah to go and find him. And it came to pass, verse 17, that and it shall come to pass that him that escapeth the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay, and him that escapeth the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. Now, this wasn't in the literal sense here, as in Elisha was actually going to physically slay them, but it's a saying right here, in the sense of Hazael was going to be one that was going to bring trouble against Israel, right, in terms of the wars and the fighting between Syria and Israel, which we do see later on. Okay, and then you were also going to have Jehu, which was going to also play a role in that, which we'll see the role he plays as we keep on reading. And then you're also going to have Elisha, who is also going to play a role. And all of these three figures would affect, Israel in this sense. Okay, so it's not necessarily like they were passing people as alley-oops to each other and slaying them. Verse 18. Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed to Baal. And this 7,000 was a representation of a complete amount. Okay, so it didn't have to be literally 7,000, but it was a number of people that the Lord found to be sufficient or complete, who have not bowed the knee to Baal, right? So who have remained loyal to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And every mouth which hath not kissed him, which is to pay obeisance or reverence to Baal, being an idol. Verse 19, so he departed thence, this being Elijah. After being told this, he departed thence and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him. Okay, so once again, you can look here at like an image, which we should all be familiar with this, but if we look at a plowman with yoke of oxen, you can see here, let me see if I can find, yeah, this is a good one. So the plowman, right, or the husbandman is behind with the plow that is dug up into the ground, like you can see here, and the oxen are driving it, meaning by their strength, right, they're pulling this plow and it's breaking up the earth as they go. Now, you can have 2 oxen, you can have 4, or you can have more, as is the case in this image here. So you can see that Elisha, that's why I mentioned, he was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, 6 on each side. It says, and he with the 12, and Elisha passed by him and cast his mantle upon him. And that was a representation of basically when they say like passing the mantle or upon somebody, it's like giving the baton to somebody else in like track. So it was basically a representation of Elisha being the one to continue on from Elijah's point. And Elisha understood that, which is why his response was, he left the oxen and ran after Elijah. So Elijah pretty much just cast the mantle upon him and just kept going. So Elisha leaves the oxen, he goes to Elijah and said, let me, I pray thee, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow thee, meaning say goodbye to them. And he said unto him, go back again, for what have I to do with thee? And when you look this up in another translation, it says here, let's see if we can, yeah, most of them are just like, what have I done to you? Or what have I to do with you? But pretty much it's saying here, like, like Elijah is basically saying, yeah, go and do what you got to do. Like I'm not, I haven't told you come follow me. I haven't forced you to do anything. So that's what Elisha does, right? He goes back, verse 21, and he returned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slew them and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen and gave unto the people, and they did eat. Then he arose and went after Elijah and ministered unto him. So he went back, he killed 2 yoke of oxen, he prepared it for the people, his family and all of them. Probably said his goodbyes and off he went. Found Elijah, and as it says, he ministered unto him, basically meaning he served him. He became like his servant or his like understudy. All right, and that now begins the journey of Elisha and Elijah, at least for some time. So this brings us to the end of the book of 1 Kings, the 19th chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying unto the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.